Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Tonight's meeting is being both video and audio taped. If anybody else in the audience is doing so, please inform the board. Colleen, Michael?
I'm not officially recording the whole meeting, but I might use my cell phone occasionally during the meeting. So
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Alrighty, we'll go to meeting minutes, sir.
We have one set, Mr. Chairman, the minutes of April 16th, 2017. I'll make a motion to accept this everything.
I was not here then.
Motion's been made, I will second it. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
One abstention. Correspondence, sir.
We have three things, Mr. Chairman. A reminder to all town that the town will host and meet the candidates night on Tuesday, April 18th, 2017, from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Warren Senior Center. Candidates for contested races for the May 2nd, 2017 election will be present to answer your question. This event is open to the public and is handicap accessible. Any other questions, just call Becky at the Selectmen's office, 436-5701, extension number 2.
Yep.
And second, the office received notice from the Mass State Lottery Commission that they have received an application for a Keno license for Glenda's Pub. If the licensing board has any objections, notification must be made within 21 days of the receipt of the notice. I don't assume the board has any concerns.
I have no concerns or objections to that.
And lastly, Mr. Chairman, that the office received the monthly report from the fire chief for the month ending March 2017.
Thanks, Adam. Sorry, jump ahead. We'll go to the 2017 election worker appointments for our town clerk. I'll entertain a motion to appoint the 2017 election workers as submitted by the town clerk.
Second.
Motion's been made, seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're gonna pass over Arbor Day. Pass, we didn't receive anything. Pass over Arbor Day. Do we wanna go to warrants and invoices? Skip down, Mark. We got some time. Treasury warrants and invoices.
I will make a motion to accept warrant number 86, that amount being $36,289.31. The date is 4/11/2017.
Second.
Motion's been made, seconded. All those in favor?
Aye. I will make a motion to accept warrant number 88, 4/11/2017. That amount, $18,652.30.
Second.
Motion's been made, seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
And I'll make a motion on warrant number 87, which is ambulance payroll. That amount, $860.
I'll second that one. Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
And one abstention.
Abstention. And that's it, Mr. Chairman.
All right, we still have about 10 minutes. You want to do new business? So Gagner, do you have any new business for the?
Yeah, I just want to remind everybody it's burning season. Make sure, number one, that you have a permit. Number two, make sure that you call in to dispatch to let them know that you are burning. Number three, make sure you have a hose charged next to where you are burning. The wind is a little bit high, it can get away from you. Just be safe, be smart out there.
When's the cutoff date?
Adam?
May 1st.
May 1st.
Is that it?
That's what I got for now, sir.
Something, Richard?
The only thing I would like to see, if Becky can get in touch with Tom from Highway and have him go up and take a look at Town Farm Road at the very end. It's in pretty tough shape.
Okay.
It's not paved, but, some sort of a grading or maybe a load of hardpack or something, or a pothole. It's like a minefield going down. That was a road that was washed out a few years ago.
Yep.
It takes a beating every year.
Oh, yeah.
Would like to have Tom, schedule up and do a couple of roads like that. It's really
Okay.
nasty.
You can have her call him tomorrow.
That's all I have.
That's it?
Actually, I got some filler. I can let people know I had a meeting today with Debilitating Medical Conditions Treatment Centers. They are the second medical marijuana company that's going to be going into the old Reds complex or the Mill Overlay District. They are hoping to have their paperwork together. Looks like they may be looking at an alternative area to put it within the complex. They're gonna have the paperwork together, hopefully get in front of the planning board soon so that they can get their special permit. My understanding is that the special permit is almost ready to be voted on for the next meeting of the planning board. And then Heal Link will be able to get going with their building plans and hopefully hiring some people. Debilitating, hopefully will follow suit soon. And with the recreational, there is no dispensaries. This is only for cultivation and processing. But these companies, the way that the Commonwealth is looking at it, any cultivation and processing center, anyone who has a current license will be in line first for a license for the recreational as well. That means that they would do nothing but expand and hire more people. That's a win-win for Uptown. Also, I received the host agreement from Heal Inc., $50,000 a year to be paid to the town, and $5,000 a year additional for local charities and youth sports teams. They want to make sure that they are being good neighbors and that they are becoming part of the community, and hopefully that can get on the agenda for the next meeting.
Is that
And
China?
that's- I would
It's the 25th.
I very much appreciate that, sir.
Wanna put it on back for the 25th?
Yep, June.
Thank you. And that's what I got for now.
All right, I don't really have any new business. I mean, kind of new old business, the streetlight project's moving along pretty well. We've had a lot of resident calls regarding how much nicer they like it, and we've only had one complaint, we've addressed it and fixed it, but just to remind anybody, if you see them coming around and the installation's happening, and for some reason your light doesn't work the next day, or something happens, because it did happen with one of our lights, contact our office and we'll have them go out the next day and we'll address it. Come to find out it's just a wire issue. As they're being put up, if you see something or you're concerned, feel free to call the office if you have any questions or concerns. With that, I guess, well, we can probably go to budgets for another 8 or 9 minutes, right, Pat? FY budgets, FY 18 budgets, and we've had this on the agenda since January. I know we have the chief in here tonight to discuss his budget. This past Saturday, the board met with finance committee, members of the finance committee. We were there from about 9 in the morning until about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, going through all the budgets, the town meeting articles for both the annual and special. The select board at this time has voted on every budget with the exception of the police budget. We did take a vote on the school department budget. Finance committee had voted on almost everything with the exception, I think, of police and school. But we had some questions regarding the chief's budget for the police. I know the chief went back, reworked some numbers, sent us a revised version of the budget. The chief is here this evening. I did receive it, Bruce. I had a couple of questions, but I think before I start, because I seem to be the one that got this going with all the changes and everything to the budget. So the chief submitted a budget. I had made some changes to the chief's budget and trimmed a few things back, and then, we had discussion about it. So we haven't voted on anything. We're kind of going back and forth with, and asking questions with FinCom and ourselves. So before I turn it over to you, Chief, I just didn't know if either one of my board members had any questions. Did both of you guys receive the chief's revised copy?
Thank you.
Mark?
Yes,
you
I
got
did.
it? Do you have any questions for the chief before I turn it over to him to go through it, or?
Like I say, numbers are numbers, budgets are what, and we rely on the chief to present to us what he thinks. My only concern, Mr. Chairman, is the hiring of the new officer with the academy and that whole discussion. We've been down that road a couple of times. That is my only concern.
And Jim, you all set?
I am.
All right, hey, chief. So, my questions were, I was pretty good with what you sent back. I still had questions regarding the officer and replacing a sergeant. I know we discussed possibly going to a lieutenant and individual contract. I did read your email to me with regards to the collective bargaining and the staffing of 2 officers per shift. The question I really had was on the uniforms again. Because I noticed, and maybe I don't have the right copy because we've got about 10 copies going around. On the revised copy, it came back to me at $17.50 again. are we okay with 1,000?
Yes, we were, that should have been changed.
Okay, and then my other question was, and I'm not sure, if maybe I misunderstood it, was the mileage reimbursement, which was up to, I think it was 8,000. And I mentioned, I think it was on Saturday, if there's any way, I know, we're short on vehicles, we're using personal vehicles for court and whatnot, because of such an increase on that line, if you could meet us halfway on that one, or if you thought that, I'm not sure because in the line prior to it, it was like 160 times 12. I wasn't really sure how the number was derived. It was like $160 per month, and I was multiplying
Yeah, I
it
think
times
that was
12.
the figure that I used originally. But we've seen a huge spike in personal vehicle use because we don't have any other cars to use. And I also had not, under Fair Labor Standards, we have to pay the officer when he goes to the academy. If he's using his own car, we gotta pay him his mileage for that too. So that's another reason for the big spike in that. But I think in that figure, I had also accounted for the fact if we're gonna send someone to an academy for 6 months in the anticipation of not having a vehicle to send him with, there's gonna be some substantial increases in mileage.
And I know we went back and forth Saturday, and Mr. Delansky was here from FinCom and had mentioned, going with a half of a position. And I think is that how it is written in here now with the half?
I reduced that, the new hire by half to accommodate for 6 months. I honestly think that's gonna put us behind the 8 ball, as far as the training goes, when we hire somebody. To coincide with the sergeant's leaving, there's gonna be a gap after he leaves, where I don't have someone back. And I may not, if it doesn't happen, our next meeting is in November, we can't raise and appropriate in November. So we've got 6 months of salary then.
Let me ask you this. So if we budgeted for the new officer, and is it Officer Morton's coming back by July 1?
I think he graduates June 28th, and then he comes right back to work full-time.
So we'll be full.
We'll be at full staff until the sergeant leaves.
So on the 35,000 for the overtime, if we staff for the officer, and knowing that we have.
The 35,000 for the.
Well, I'm
You mean
looking at
the
line.
salary?
Under overtime on page, I think it's 3, why I printed this in the landscape, where it says investigations court emergency shift overlap,
Mhm.
that overtime line there.
Yep.
That line there, and correct me if I'm wrong, that line has to get added into the total line above the 135, correct? To come up with the supplemental salaries?
Yes.
It does, okay. That's the line that I was looking at, just because it's stated as overtime.
Mhm.
And I was trying to come up with all the different overtimes, because there's a few different ones here for holiday coverage and whatnot. And I know you had mentioned to us on Saturday, for the last 2 years, we haven't had a full staff, and that maybe by this year, if we do, or we should, see a significant decrease in overtime. What's your thoughts on budgeting for the decrease now? Knowing that we'll have Officer Moore in here in July.
We'll have him here. I mean, historically, in the past, I think I based that 1,000-hour figure over the past 5 years. It's been fairly consistent.
But we've
When
been
he comes-
short, though. We have.
And we've been short, and there's a possibility that we're gonna be short again. And I can't, again, you asked me at the last meeting if I could guarantee it. We can't carve anything in stone. We had some incidents, we've had some major incidents that have cost us a lot of money in overtime. I can't say if and when or how many of those are gonna happen. But I think to responsibly finance our budget, we have to go in what we spent in the past.
Okay, so I think your latest one came in about an 8% over? Is that what it was?
I believe that's what it
8.8,
was. There was a minor increase that FinCom sent over. There was a question regarding the dispatch contract and how many vacation days the part-timers got. At the time this budget was drafted, that actual number was unknown. So I budgeted based on the way I read it, and it was actually incorrect. There was an increase in dispatch vacation coverage, which he did send over to you.
Okay.
Now, I don't have those figures.
I do.
Okay.
So Becky, you have your budget there, the full budget?
I don't have the full budget, I have the one that Bruce provided.
Do you want to put it on, you want me?
Well, we're gonna be going into a hearing in about a minute, so
Yeah,
I'm gonna
okay.
hold that thought, so we can go into the hearing, we'll come back to it. I'm sorry? Yeah, so, I mean, so you're okay with the 1,000 uniforms?
Absolutely.
Shirts?
Yep.
Alright, so, I'm gonna pause that for a minute. So we have a public hearing. We have actually, yes, we have a public hearing this evening scheduled for 7:15. Before we get started, I'm just gonna lay down the ground rules of the hearing. I'm sure we have both sides, the both the parties, the complainant and the residents here who wrote us and the dog owners themselves. So we're gonna hear from both sides. I'm saying roughly 5 to 10 minutes for each side to give a fair account of their position in regards to what's been supplied to the selectman's office. I will swear in all parties in a couple of minutes. Whoever is going to speak on behalf of either party will have to stand up and be sworn in to be spoken, to be allowed to speak. Conduct everything through the chair and through the board. Please don't engage in any conversation between each other within the audience. We'll try to do this as quickly as possible, make sure we cover all the information. The board most likely will not take a vote this evening. What we're probably gonna do is gather all the information, and then we'll give the, both parties something in writing from our office within 7 to 10 days as we take in all the information. We may need to do a follow-up, but we just wanna hear from both sides and at least present the information that's been provided to us. So are we okay with the ground rules, folks? Clear on that? So for the people that are actually going to speak tonight on behalf of that, if I can ask you to stand up, I'm going to need you to state your name for the record here. So whoever is going to be speaking, if you could, we can start. You young lady, if you could state your name and your address so that you can have it.
Janet Pine, 114, Old West Warren Road, 1 Mass.
She's a dog owner. You're the dog owner.
Correct.
Sir?
Joseph Bartosik, 82 Old West Warren Road.
Good evening.
He's the complaint.
I got you.
John McGann, 40 High Street, Warren.
Dave Yankor's 246 Old West Warren Road.
Patty Gankor, same address.
Calvin Cheslak, 68, Old West Warren.
All right, that is everybody. Okay, if you wouldn't mind raising your right hand, folks. Do you solemnly swear to affirm that the testimony you're about to be given in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, great. Have a seat. I can remember everybody now. I skipped somebody. So we received a letter from Mr. and Mrs. Bartosik. And I just actually, I apologize, sir, because I knew this letter came into the office, but I hadn't found my copy of it, so I just wanted to read it again. I'm thinking that we might want to just introduce this letter. Would you care to read this?
I'll read
The original letter? I think I gave you a copy, but you can have mine. So now Mr. Gagg will read the original letter, the complaint that came in. Okay, sir? First.
Dear Board of Selectmen, my wife and I are writing to you about a situation which started over a year ago when our neighbors, their name is not known to us, who reside at 114 Old West Warren Road, Warren, Mass. Since they have moved, they have 2 very large pit bulls that they allowed to roam around the neighborhood. We have called the animal control officer over 5 times, as well as the police. Over this time span, it has become more of a safety issue due to the aggressiveness of the female pit bull. My wife and I are now concerned when we pull in the driveway to take her groceries out to make sure that the dogs are not in our yard. Just after the snowstorm in February of 2017, my wife called the animal control officer. We were told by the dispatch officer that the police station, that she was in the police station, that she was unavailable and that she would dispatch a police officer. When this police officer arrived, I was not given his name. Before I could say anything, he talked very harshly to me about my wife calling 911 and wanted to know what the emergency was. When I told him about the 2 pit bulls, he told me there was nothing he could do, and I should let the dog bite me, then he can do something. He then drove to 114 Old West Warren Road and had a discussion with the owners. On 2/19/2017, my wife ran into the house carrying one of our small rescue dogs, telling me, "Do not open the door." The pit bulls from the neighbors at 114 Old West Warren Road chased her from the yard, up the stairs, on the porch, and into the house. I looked out our glass window in the front door of the greatest black. Female pit bull was aggressively barking at the door and charging the door. We notified the animal control officer. On 2/20/2017, my wife was going to let our dogs out to use the outdoors for their business. When she went to the front door, she heard scratching before she opened it. She looked outside, and there was the female grayish-black pit bull on our porch, scratching at our door, and the tan pit bull in our front yard and driveway. We notified the animal control officer. The animal control officer told us to write a letter to the Board of Selectmen requesting a dog hearing to control this issue. My family and I have become extremely concerned about our safety due to the aggressiveness of this grayish-black female pit bull. We've also noticed neither has a collar. I am hoping will grant us a hearing in the future so we can get this situation resolved before someone gets severely bitten or mauled. I'm also concerned for my neighbors who have many animals, i.e. horses, goats, chickens, ducks, etc. We have witnessed the pit bull digging at the duck enclosure. I can continue, or that's pretty much the gist.
The gist of it. All right, folks, so we received the letter. Mr. Gagnon, thank you for reading that. Anything else you'd like to add to the initial complaint that you sent in to us? I know our animal control was there, I know police has been there. We have a statement from Sarah regarding it.
We had one further incident on March 29th where the pit bull again chased my wife into the house and this time jumped on the door. If I wasn't by the door pushing it shut, it would have came into the house. Since then, we've had no further issues. All we're requesting is the dogs be tied up so we can go out and just do things in our yard without being scared. We have a can of bear mace by the front door because I have to watch her go into the car when she goes to work in the morning and when she comes home. And it's really starting to get to us. You know, I don't understand what's so hard about tying up your dog.
Anybody else on behalf of the complainant? Sir?
Yeah, I'm the Bartuzik's neighbor, I'm the one with the animals. It's
With the
become,
livestock?
oh yeah, I have a couple of goats, ducks, chickens, stuff like that. It's become a constant nuisance, plus I have 2 children, to the point where my 16-year-old, when my 11-year-old gets off the bus, he goes down with a baseball bat to walk her up the driveway. They were trying to dig into my ducks, I went out, chased them out of that. Then they were up at we have 2 pet goats, they're just pets, you know, and they are in an enclosure, fenced enclosure. As it was snarling and trying to dig it out of there, when I went up to chase them away, then it went in the barn to try and get in the other way, and it full charged me, you know, and I'm no small guy, it had no fear at all. And I'm a dog lover, you know. We have a dog that doesn't get along with other animals. I solved the problem. I leave it on a leash. I don't let it go. It doesn't come back when it's called, so I don't let it loose. It's become, you know, I have my kid, you know, listen, my daughter's afraid to get off the bus some days. She goes to my mom's house now to get off the bus. It's become a serious problem. And, you know, and of course we have the horse and the goats. I don't want to lose my pets. You know, they don't raise us any money. They're our pets. You know, but it's become a serious issue right up on our porch. I mean, I've had my wife carrying the bucket of feed up to the horse and literally throw it on the ground, run back down the house. It's just not acceptable behavior, you know. It's solve the problem. Control your animals.
Thank you. Anybody else on behalf of the complainant who would like to speak regarding any issues that they've had with the animals? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'd just like to say, I've only had one instance when I walk a loop from, you know, right up here on High Street. I go up that street and never had a problem. And then one day, it had snowed, the dog was out in the side yard. And I myself have a 120-pound dog, not afraid of dogs. So I just kept on walking up towards the street, towards that house. The next door neighbor was outside. I said, "Is this dog okay?" As soon as I said something, the dog, his or her hair went up from the base of his neck down to its tail. So to me, that told me that, you know, possibly something could happen here. So I asked him, "Is this dog okay?" He couldn't speak English very well. So he said, "Oh, dog chased me all over," you know. So right then, a truck came down the road, and it happened to be a friend of mine, Dave Messier, and he said his daughter had got attacked by the dog also. So I heard that this meeting was going to take place tonight. So only had the one problem. I've never seen the dog out after that.
Thank you. Anybody else?
It's basically the same thing. I do the big loop, like Tom said he does. Twice I've walked, once I went up. If I hadn't had my dog with me, I probably would've got bit real good, just circled and circled. The second time I went around, it came the same thing, hair foaming at the mouth. I had to call him, he had to come rescue me, and he went to their house and said, you know, tie the thing up. The things are horrible.
Okay. Anybody else?
Same as what she said.
Okay. All right. the dog owner is, response statement.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Janet. I do reside at that home, and I am the owner of the two dogs in question. They were both rescues that we rescued from euthanization, and we were only supposed to be a temporary shelter, but we were having problems finding a home to place them, especially in the winter, so they stayed a little longer than anticipated. In the process, they have become really close to my family. I have twin 4-year-olds and a 5-year-old. And I don't question any instances that I've read a lot online. You know, I've been researching this because I've never seen this side of them towards our family members. And I read a lot of information that basically says that the dogs do act differently towards other people when they're, you know, out. So I'm not doubting that any of this has happened, and I truly apologize that, you know, I don't want anybody to affect their lifestyle or have to be afraid in their own home or be able to walk. So, I mean, sincere apologies as far as that goes. I'd have to say, the majority, if not all of the instances, the dogs are very, very difficult. When the door opens, they want to run. That's the thing that we're having. We do have a run in the backyard, which we've had for quite some time. When we let them out one at a time, because when the two of them get together, that's what happens. They take off and they run, and I have gone up shamrocking around, and, you know, when they were up in, where the gentleman has the farm, trying to get them back in, it's caused a lot of anxiety for me as well, because I feel we're still actively searching to rehome them. They are registered, they have their shots, everything, all the requirements. We have put up a fence since the last incident that the neighbor was referring to as a secondary, so if we're letting one out on the run and the other one tries to squeeze out, we have this fence in place, as well as we're having, we're putting money aside every week to put an electric fence with the collars. We have a quote, it's $1,100 basically for the 2 units and the electric fence to be put up in their yard. At this point, you know, I don't know how to proceed any farther. You know, the fence is new as far as keeping a secondary precaution in case they do. We've been walking them around the edge of our property, trying to teach them, and when they go outside our property line, we scold them and bring them back in and carry treats. We talked to a vet, and they said in reference to the female, because she's not spayed, neutered yet, that her level, when she's in heat, we feel like maybe some of the instances where they've been aggressive is that she smelled the scent of their dog going into the house, which isn't an excuse, but we're just trying to see the difference in behavior. So because she was a rescue dog, the place that we reached out to, they're gonna pay to have her neutered, because we're, you know, fostering them. So that should help as far as the temperament as well. But I mean, I sincerely apologize for affecting anybody's lifestyle or quality of life.
So the fence you put up, how tall is this fence?
The fence is probably, I mean, it's called
4 or 5 feet?
called a goat leg fence, so maybe 4 feet, maybe my shoulder. I mean, it's only a temporary solution, just that extra measure that if they did get out when we were putting the other one on. We do want to get the electric one. It was just a little pricier than what we anticipated.
So the fence that's there now, are they completely enclosed in that fence?
Yeah, it goes
When they go
from the
outside?
outside of right where our deck goes down.
Yep.
It goes along that side, and we gave them enough, because I mean, they are larger dogs, enough room to be able to go out, you know, and then it goes up the other side. And then we put the mesh chicken wire along the bottom of our deck, so that if they were trying to get under, we have that in place.
So
It's definitely not a permanent solution, but at this point, we felt that, you know,
So we haven't had any instances, excuse me, since 3/29, I think it was. When did the fence get installed?
right after that incident.
And you're gonna try to do the collars, the Invisil fence or whatever it's called?
Yeah, we got a quote for $1,100. They're coming out next week, you know, to see what aspect of it we can finance.
So are you thinking this is gonna be permanent ownership for yourself now? They're not gonna be rehomed?
We're definitely trying to rehome them, but we've already had 4 meets where the people have come over, but they've had dogs, and we got them when they were puppies. They're,
Yep.
right
How
now,
old
they're
are they?
15 months old and 18 months old. They're still puppies. And we're trying to, one of them's a Great Dane, the brindle colored one is half Great Dane, half American Staffordshire Terrier, and the other one is a gray, terrier. And they've become very attached to our family, so we've had issues trying to rehome them. So at this point, we changed the level of description. We're trying to find a home them with somebody that doesn't already have a pet, because we feel that it'll be easier for them to bond into a home that they don't already have a pet there.
All right. Either Selectman Geiger or Richards have questions?
My first question is, if you are looking to adopt them and place them in homes, why would you spend $1,100?
Because we don't know if that's gonna be an option, because we've had that ad out there for so long, and we've interviewed so many people, and we haven't. So if it gets to the point where they're gonna be euthanized, or we keep them, we have to
Because
have.
I'm a dog lover, as everybody knows here, that,
Mhm.
but you stated yourself, I think you're gonna have a very, very hard time placing one of either of those into a home that already has animals.
Exactly.
I don't see that working out whatsoever.
Mhm.
So
That's
like
what
you
we're
say,
running
you're
into.
gonna have to find somebody that's gonna take it one-on-one.
Mhm.
But,
Well, it seems to be, according to our animal control officer who went up there, it seems to be more of a nuisance thing. But I look at it a little bit differently than, Sarah's a huge animal lover. I mean, she couldn't be here this evening. But as an animal owner myself, and my parents have fairly large dogs. When they get aggressive, it's pretty scary. And we can't have dogs terrorizing the neighbors. So, I'm not sure if Mr. Gagner has anything he wants to add, but we need to come up with a solution, because it seems like these animals are gonna be permanent. And we wanna make sure that starting today, that they're secured. If it's a matter of leaving the house with one and the other one's escaping and staying within that fence now, you're gonna have to figure a way on how to get one of them out at a time and lock the door behind you or something. We can't have them terrorizing kids coming off the bus. We can't have them running over
I
to
do,
the
I
neighbor's
feel
house.
awful. I have children ranging from my twins are 4, and I have high school students in the town as well. And hearing these, letters, it really, in their testimony, it really did affect me. I had no idea that any of this was, aside from my neighbor.
It's pretty serious, and since I've been on this board, I've only had 2 dog hearings, and this is my second one. So it's not like it's a common practice around here, but when you get enough residents that are really voicing their concerns regarding, their neighborhood, and you guys all have to live together, so you're neighbors. So we need to come up with an amicable solution to this that's going to work for all, and the dogs are still going to be able to roam around their yard, not neighbors' yards, either on a leash or enclosed. So does anybody else want to speak on behalf of the animal owner? Yes, sir.
No,
No.
sorry, no,
No?
pretty owner.
Anybody else on behalf of the animal owner? No.
I just want to make one more comment.
Yep.
And this is coming from obviously dog owner and lover myself. And some of the things you said, I just want to say the electric fence probably isn't going to work. Because with electric fence, the dog can still charge to the edge of the lawn. And sometimes it doesn't even work then if the dog is aggressive. It will, just like being stunned, it will overcompensate for the adrenaline, and it still can bite. And, I don't know if you're aware, but a temperament of a dog isn't something you can train. A temperament is something like a DNA that it's born with. You can train a dog to sit, you can train a dog to do a lot of things, but it's born with its temperament. And sometimes there's not much you can do about it. That's-
I tend to agree with you on that. I have neighbors who have this offense, and for Labradors and things like that, and smaller dogs, it stops them. But bigger dogs, if they want to go, it's only going to anger them more probably, and they're really going to tear through it. I would probably agree with that statement that it may not be a wise investment at this point. Yes, sir.
We have 3 other tenants that we have, which is not here tonight, but they went after them tenants that walked the neighborhood too. And their recommendation was there's other people that had aggressive dogs in town, which Mark knows who one of them is. And for that dog to be out in public, no matter what, if it's on a leash or whatever, it has to have a muzzle on. And that's, to me, a leash, you could say it got loose, whatever. Before somebody gets hurt, that dog should have a muzzle on no matter what, at all times outside, whether it's in that fence or not. Because it's gonna go over that fence.
I guess my big problem here is, first of all, electric fences for an aggressive dog don't work. I work for Verizon, I'm on the road every day, I'm in hundreds of homes a week. I've seen so many dogs, those electric fences blow right through them. So they may work with a very docile dog, they do not work with an aggressive dog. They just don't. Any dog trainer will tell you that. The big issue we have here is if you can't control your animal, you shouldn't have it. Like I said, I have a rescue dog who can be a real pain in the butt. But I work with her, I can control her, and I make no excuses about it. If you can't open the door to your home without your dog running out, you shouldn't have the dog. That's the bottom line. And any good rescue you work with, I rescue my dogs from Second Chance over in East Brookfield. If you take the dog and you can't handle it, they take the dog back. That's the law. That's a mass state law. They have to take the animal back if you can't handle it. because they know the problems that can happen when you own a dog that you can't handle. The smallest dog can bite somebody and break the skin and hurt them. The larger the dog, the more of an issue we have here. And that's what we have going on. It seems like they're very nice people who love these animals and they rescued them. The Bartosics know they work with rescues all the time. So we're animal people. I love animals. But you have to be able to control them. If I just let my horse roam the neighborhood, you know what I mean? Or my goats are eating the neighbor's flowers, I'm liable. And that's where we're at. They have an animal they can't control. And the town has to do something about it. They have to either help them find a new rescue that will rehome these animals or something, because they are extremely aggressive. I mean, I'm not afraid of a whole lot of things, but that dog backed me right up on my porch into my house. And the only reason that, I'm gonna be honest with you, the only reason that dog is still roaming the neighborhood is by the time I came back out of my house, it was running away. I have my kids, and I love them, and I love them more than their dog. Okay? When I come home and my daughter is just shaking, something's gotta be done. So I understand the fence. I don't think electric fence is the way to solve this. I think the dogs need to go back to the rescue they came from. But that's up to the town to work with this.
I agree. So I think that, your apology's been received. I do think that you're sincere in regards to the fact that you don't want to see your neighbors living in terror.
Yeah.
But to what this gentleman just said, I think he has a very valid point, that if you can't control the dogs, it becomes not only a nuisance, now it's a dangerous dog hearing. We're moving from that step to dangerous dog. I think our first step is it's a nuisance, and we need to put in an order of conditions and what the homeowner needs to do to secure the animals within 7 to 10 days. Well, I know you have the fence, but we're gonna put something in writing, and it's gonna go off to everybody here this evening that's in attendance that testified, and the main complainant that filed the complaint.
Can I say one more thing?
Yep, wait 1 second, but if it goes further than that, it becomes a dangerous dog hearing from there. I know what Sarah has put in writing. Sarah isn't here this evening, and listening to these residents here, there's some fear around the neighborhood. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'm completely open to hearing that several people in this room have worked with other rescues. If they have resources available that they would be willing to possibly share with me for rehoming the dogs, I'm open to those
What I
resources
can do,
as well.
1 second, is maybe we can contact Wendy and Palmer. Wendy Lesage, who is acting and filling in as our animal control officer right now, is very good. She has all the resources. We can contact Wendy tomorrow, or give you Wendy's information. She'll come out, she'll help you out. She can answer any questions and connect you with all the resources that you would need moving forward. So we should reach out to Wendy definitely tomorrow. Yes, sir.
As Mr. Chesak said, my wife and I are very big into animal rescues, and all our dogs have been rescues ever since we've been here. My wife has many resources throughout Massachusetts and Connecticut, because we don't want the dogs, euthanized, but they are a problem. She knows of some rescues that actually take bad-tempered dogs and retrain them. And I'm sure that she would be willing to help.
That's great. If you can share that information with us, I definitely think contacting Wendy Doe would be a good step in the right direction to start.
The only thing I would add is, as Dario just said, and the gentleman in the back, I'd be very cautious before you lay out $1,100.
Right.
Because I will agree with everybody who said here, certain animals work well. My neighbor across the street, Mr. Como, works well, but it's a dosa. When you get into this breed and this kind of activity, it may hurt for a second, but that dog knows it's gonna hurt for a second and then I'm gone. And I just really hate to see you, ma'am, spend $1,100
Thank you.
and not have, the issue resolved, and then if for some reason the dogs are taken, now you're stuck with $1,100
Right.
fence. I just don't wanna see you lay out that kind of cash, but I would be very, I got both my dogs through Second Chance. They're marvelous people, and if this gentleman here and this couple here are willing to, I think the best thing is for you to
I think if you're gonna
find
make
a home.
I'm sorry, Mark.
Go ahead.
No, if you're gonna make an investment, like the gentleman said, buy a couple muzzles. If you're bringing them both out,
We
even though they're
did, we
fenced
got a
in,
muzzle for
have
the
them on.
aggressive one. the
They
red
get
one.
loose and they're running around the neighborhood, they can't bite anybody. They can growl, they can jump, they can push, but they won't at least be able to bite anybody. Yes.
I'm also, not just for I'm a little concerned about the dog safety. I have horses, my neighbors have horses. I've seen a horse stomp a coyote to toothpaste. So not to be, to be gross here, but the dogs could seriously get hurt in that aspect. I
Right.
mean, the horses are very friendly, but when they see an animal, I know when the bluish gray horse, dog charged up to my horse, the horse turned right around, reared up on his front, and he was ready to defend himself. I would hate to see the animals dogs get
Right.
hurt as well. It's a two-road, double stick
Right,
here.
but for now, we're gonna, she has a fence, she has muzzles. We're gonna contact Wendy tomorrow, get Wendy in touch with you to give you some help and some resources to use. One of the other residents had also extended, her ability to share some resources with you. This board will not vote tonight, but we're gonna actually put something in writing and send it out to everybody within 7 to 10 days. Is there anything further to be added by anybody? Adam, you had your hand up, I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, I sympathize with both parties on this, and the only reason I would say anything tonight is because I've been through this scenario before with a dog that I had not too long ago, a few years ago, and it was a German Shepherd. And to the gentleman's point in the back, I do firmly believe, and after talking to some vets, that there are some animals that you're never gonna get some of that aggression out. And I think my only concern is, admittedly, she has some very small children at home. And to you, ma'am, I would just say that I've been to a few of those calls where all of a sudden one of them turns, and that happened at my house, and it turned on my stepson, and he took 18 stitches to his face. There was no indication that that was gonna happen, and it did. So you have very small children. So if these dogs are not able to be controlled and they're admittedly aggressive, or at least one of them is, you never want to live with that guilt of dealing with that injury to a small child or something. And these dogs can do so much damage, and I'm not saying that they will, but I'm just saying you never want to live with that in the back of your mind, because I've been through that scenario, and it's not something you want to deal with. Thank God, my stepson is grown and older, and he was okay, but he almost lost an eye. He could have very easily lost an eye, and my son now, that's only a year and a half, he'd have killed him. So I can just tell you that, for your own children's safety, if one of them's admittedly aggressive, act on it as quickly as possible.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Somebody else in the back? Back now?
Dory, I just want to mention, everybody's mentioned a second chance, and they do have large dog handlers down there, trainers. They can assess your dog's temperament. So a call, she may want to just make a call to them. They will come out to your house and work with your dog and assess its temperament and go from there.
Okay. You have anything to add? You want to add anything, sir?
It's fine.
Sorry.
When did you move to town?
We moved February. We've been here over a year.
Okay, well, welcome to town.
Thank you.
It's probably not the way you want to be introduced to town. The one thing that I'm taking away from this, and I like the fact that I was able to sit back and watch this go on, is Mr. Bartosik, Mr. McCann, my friends over there, Dave and Patty, Calvin. You have a great neighborhood. You have a lot of people that, like yourself, they like the rescued animals, all right? They have resources. They'll work with you. They don't want to see the dog have to be put down. They want to see what's best for the animals. So I think it shouldn't have gotten to this point, is basically where I'm coming from. All you have to do is talk to any one of them. They'll open up to you in a heartbeat, and they'll help you out any way they can. That's what we do in this community. All right, but yeah, we'll have a determination shortly. There'll probably be some rules. But I just want to thank everybody for coming out today. But talk to your neighbors, they'll absolutely work with you.
Right, thank you.
All right, does anybody else have anything to add? Mr. and Mrs. Bartosik, this was, year later that came in. Is there anything you want to add in closing?
No, I think everybody has basically said.
We have a pit bull named Bella. She's older and kind of slow. But if a dog her size comes on our yard, she will rip it to pieces. And that's one of our fears when these dogs come on our yard.
So you actually are a pit bull owner?
Yes.
Okay.
But Bella's always tied, and if she's not tied, then she's with one of us. And again, she's so spoiled, she's a fat pit bull. She's
And she's
and
So you slowed her down?
yeah, basically, she has no desire to go anywhere. But to I'm sorry, fire chief?
Yes.
I'm a retired shepherd, and I've worked in trauma centers. I've seen kids mauled and adults mauled by animals, that everything was perfectly fine one minute, and then the kid snuck up on them and boom. and I've seen some pretty horrific stuff as a PA in the ER. So, you know, again, nothing, I don't want anything bad with the dogs, but, you know, everybody's afraid of them, you know. Take the resources. There were tons of stuff that, between Second Chance, my wife, and, you know, just the neighbors in general, we could find probably a good place for them.
So, like I said, we'll reach out to Wendy, there's some other information coming in. We're gonna get a written response, decision on this within 7 to 10 days. You okay with that, guys?
Absolutely.
No problem.
You need to add anything further, Mr. Richards?
No, just please keep the dog under control. We don't want to have you back here before the 7 days.
Yeah, we don't wanna have the next type of.
Because then it goes, like Dario says, it goes down a whole nother road.
Yeah.
I
Do
do
I have the
not want to
ability
have
of
that.
getting some of those resources tonight so I can move forward on them?
We could possibly give you Wendy's number tonight. You can call Wendy at any time. Do you have it in there? I don't have it with me.
Well, no, but I have it.
Yeah, after the meeting, you can get your Wendy's phone number. That wouldn't be a problem. So is there anything else that needs to be said? Anybody else needs to speak on behalf of either? No? All right, with that being said, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing at 7:45.
So moved.
I will second the
Motion
motion.
made, seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
So the hearing's closed, folks. Like I stated, we will get a written notification out to you within 7 to 10 days with resources being made available. If you're here at the end of the meeting, which should only last another 15, 20 minutes, we can share them with you. And we'll go from there. So all of you will hear from us within 7 to 10 days. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We're gonna go back to budgets, guys. Chief. All right, your budget. So, all right, Bruce, so we're good on the $1,700,000.
I just looked at that number, and in the copy that I sent you, it says $1,000. That's why I keep saying
More
throw out
your
the
budgets than we
final.
have total budgets in the town.
I keep saying throw out the final one, and this one I'm holding in my hand, which I printed this morning, says $1,000. One of the other issues that I did want to bring up, and just so we're all on the same page,
Yep.
the new hire patrolman, to cut that salary in half.
Yep.
The additional sergeant salary increase, there was discussion at the working meeting on Saturday, if the board may want to proceed in a different direction. There was a $5,000 increase there. I eliminated that from this. And in regards to the sick time,
Bruce, what was that again?
I'm sorry, the additional money that I had proposed to hire the sergeant, new sergeant, effective on January 1st.
Okay.
Because of the discussion that was had on Saturday amongst the board and myself, and we're not sure how we're gonna proceed with that, I eliminated that $5,000. So there's no additional money in this budget if we make a promotion. We'd have to look in November for that. Or that has to be filled before he leaves.
So let me ask you something. All right, go ahead, I'll let you finish, I'm sorry.
And also, in regards to the overtime, I base our overtime sick time coverage on only 3 shifts a month. We far exceeded that, which is a reason for a lot of the overtime. But essentially, that's 36 shifts a year in sick time, and I had one officer last year, 6 months. A couple of years before that, I had one I think was longer than that. So, short of guaranteeing anything, as long as I'm full staffed and I have no surprises or departures or major incidents, I see that number coming down.
Well, what you're saying to me is you prefer me not to cut that number. You prefer me not to make that recommendation. I can't speak for everybody.
I would prefer that you not make that recommendation based on the 5-year average.
We do have a car on town meetings this annual.
We're short of cars. I've got one that has to come off the road. We're looking at retrofitting an SUV for the K-9. I've got another one that's got rust through and 170,000 miles on it.
All right, so, Chief, I'm yours, and I'm probably not correct now since that number was incorrect. Was it 958? The total amount, 958?
It was, I think that, and Barry can speak better for me, there was a slight increase in the dispatch vacation coverage only because of what the part-timers dispatch ended up with under the new contract. And I want to say that totals about $4,000 more, does that sound correct?
It is. So Becky, for your record, the adjustment to overtime vacation coverage is $16,784.98.
Almost exactly $4,000.
And that's replacing the 12,888.
Yes.
Correct.
Say that number again, Barry.
1678498.
So essentially, Barry, if you could, 154, 162, 18 plus that dispatch increase.
So if you
will be
add
our-
$4,000 to the 954, 162, that's where you're gonna be.
958, 162,
Okay.
So in short, Bruce, the original budget came in about 980, I think, 9.8.
The original.
980. And now you're at roughly 958.
And I still think with the new hire, we're gonna be behind the eight ball a little bit.
My cuts had it down to 917. Sorry. I can do that, I know. Finance, do you have any questions? Or anything you want to add?
No, we voted to accept the budget with the adjustments and the corrections,
The 958.
with the halftime officer that will replace
When was that?
Saturday after you were done. We had our meeting, we continued our meeting.
So can you share with the board at some point that total amount?
Yep.
with-
We're still adjusting it because there was yet another error that we caught. So that's why I'm cleaning up the budget. And right now, my total for the budget for the police department is 958,162,19.
That's only a penny off from.
So is that the amount you voted on, or no?
We voted on the adjusted amount, so that, yes, that'll be the adjusted amount.
And how did that vote? I'm sorry.
No, okay, go ahead.
We voted to accept it unanimously.
Okay.
Mark, do you have anything you want to add?
No, the 958,162, which is with the corrections that we got
Right.
from the chief.
Right. We have one more small thing that we're looking at, Madeline and I are looking at, but it's
So,
dollars.
what I think we're gonna do, guys, is we're gonna vote on the annual on Thursday. I posted a meeting at 3 o'clock on Thursday, too. We're sure if we're gonna be able to finalize yours tonight, and I just wanna make sure we have the right number before we move forward, as long as FinCom can provide us with that number. If it matches Bruce's, we can then plug it in. Okay, Beth? We're gonna vote on the annual Thursday, but we are gonna vote on the special tonight. So that was the only question my board had was with regards to police. We voted on the school, we voted on fire, highway. Under budget discussion now, it's on the agenda right now. Is there anything else anybody else wants to add?
Yeah, I
I'm
got a
going to accept that, Bruce, with what FinCom's recommending. Thank
So
you.
we're not voting on my budget again tonight?
I just want to, well, if I had that number to the penny, we're
He
just
wants
gonna-
the penny, and I
just want to
agree.
know,
I have to agree with him, we'll get it to the penny.
once they give us that final amount, we'll accept it. We're going to accept it and vote on it. We're going to vote on the annual Thursday. I just need that final number. So if you can give us the final number, FinCom. That's it for us. Is there anything else in any other
Yeah,
budgets?
we only have one budget that we're not in agreement with, and that's the Council on Aging. So we will discuss that next week.
Don't you guys vote for that?
We voted to leave the budget alone. You voted on Saturday to adjust the hours back to the original and to omit the coverage for vacation. So, after the discussion, we would need to re-vote on that, to amend that, if the board decides to take the selectmen's
So you guys still have to vote on Council on Aging. Did you vote on the school?
We did not vote on the school, that's Thursday.
All right, so we don't have to keep Chief here any longer. Can we be calling in the morning? So you just get the final number?
Absolutely.
Right away? Okay, so we'll have it on, just, because for some reason mine still has that 17 in it. I want to make sure. I've got, like I said, Bruce, I've got 10 copies of it.
On the copy that I emailed, I think it was either this morning or yesterday morning, that
I have
that
a
revision. has got the right
I'm off
number.
by about that $750 on this one here.
I think, and right in the heading of the email, it says, please disregard all prior versions.
I'm trying to. I can't delete them fast
So
enough.
make sure that's,
They
Chairman.
keep coming back and haunting me.
The
So-
clothing, the latest clothing line does say $1,000 in mine too. So we've
We
adjusted
should
for
be good to go
that.
Thursday.
Okay.
All right?
I'll be here.
Well, we're gonna meet at 3 o'clock and just finalize that and then vote on the warrant, so we should be fine. You have my word.
Is there anything else the board will need me for tonight?
Do you need Chief anything else? No? No? Take it easy.
Thanks, Chief.
See you in the morning.
Mr.
Yeah,
Chairman,
yeah.
If we are meeting Thursday, can we approve or vote on the letter from Key Link on Thursday?
It's not on the agenda, Ken. It's not, we've already posted, it's not on the agenda.
Anytime, put it on the agenda, so with it being Monday.
Today's Tuesday, 48 hours.
I work too much.
Yeah, so
We're good.
we had to post by 3 o'clock today.
Right.
So we missed the 48. Thanks, Bruce. Barry, FinCom, any other budgets?
So, after readjusting everything from Saturday's meeting and making the adjustments in the changes, we are still at 4.88% over last year. So, the recommendation was to be at 2 to 3% over last year. I just wondered if you wanted to still go
Well, you
ahead
put
with.
$10,000 in the highway sidewalks. That was an addition that I was not anticipating on Saturday. We put some money in some spots that, personally myself, I don't necessarily agree with. You know, I understand the sidewalks are in rough shape, but even like Tom said, $10,000 isn't gonna do much of anything anyways. So, you know, 10,000's a lot on, you know, that budget. But we voted, my board voted, and we're not, we have to make a decision by Thursday, you know, so, but I do know that Selectman Richard has some questions about some other budgets that he wants to speak about this evening, but, so for regards to that, I don't think it's gonna happen. I mean, there's some things that just have to be addressed. We increased that, we increased the technology one, and I understand the concerns that we had with adding more money into that, but that was, I think, another 5,000 total between the two. We needed it for the annual fees, because we saw an increase in them, but we did increase 2,000, I think, to the hardware side of it, so those thousands add up. I mean, I'm harping on the chief for $750 worth of uniforms, and I would really like to have gotten that budget down to the 2.5–3% that I put it at, but I don't necessarily think that that's the feeling. I don't think I'm getting a positive feeling from members in the community that want to make those cuts or see those drastic cuts at this point in time.
Well, one of the things that I realized is that when we decided to put the 14,000 into Board of Health for trash removal, we actually didn't take any monies out of maintenance budgets for those larger departments.
Mine I did out of Selectmen's. I actually had taken some out of Bruce's, but we put it back in. I didn't really look at Adams. I'm not sure if you had decreased anywhere.
Adams didn't decrease, the highway didn't decrease.
I had taken it out of ours though, and we figured out what we were spending with Republic here, and I deducted out of Shepherd Building expense.
So
there's some monies there because, you know, Board of Health is saying it's gonna be about $10,000. He budgeted he wanted 14, just to be on the safe side for the townwide trash removal. I don't know, I don't know if Adam knows what he spends off the top of his head.
Like $450 a year?
That's it?
No.
For trash removal?
Yeah.
$34 a month, so.
It's just.
He's so cheap.
It's 34 and change.
34 and change?
A month, I think, somewhere in there.
3480 or something.
3480.
So, I mean, we've been doing.
Maybe we should talk to the Board of Health about the amount that they're projecting.
Well, I'll tell you. Shepherd Building expense, annual budget is $2469.72. Highway garage is $1739.16. Senior center is $1,739.16. And the sewer department is $1739.16, which I don't think either one of our boards took a look at the sewer department. I don't think we knew that the sewer department was having trash removal done down there.
It's about 8,000, a little more than 8,000.
So then you've got police, post office, West Warren Post Office, fire department, Veterans Park, Town Common, Cummins Pond, Cutter Park, and Dean Park. All of those have about $300 per month. So when you add it all up, it's quite a bit of money being spent.
10 grand.
Yeah, it's 10,800 to do that now.
So what's the recommendation?
Well, I think that it's just an adjustment in some of those budgets to.
So we can make up 10,000 there if we go back at all the littler budgets?
You'll make up about, if you look at the 5 major budgets, including the sewer, it's 3 times 17, so let's say 3 times 51, you're about $5,800 that I could readjust the other departments. But we'll have to get to the departments and then re-vote on those budgets. in
I
order
have
to
to have
make the-
everything signed by Thursday. There's
I
no,
understand.
Thursday is the day.
I understand.
If we don't get it in, we're in trouble. And we can vote the special tonight, but Thursday is the day. Selectman Richards, you had some questions?
Yes, when I was reviewing all my notes, when we had that marathon meeting on Saturday,
Yeah.
I ended up taking, as we went down, Barry, I would check off. There was not one discussion regarding either the sewer department's budget or the request of Article 9 for a new man.
No. No, that's not what I was led to believe the agenda was. The agenda was to discuss the annual omnibus budget.
And
we
the
don't,
articles.
we personally don't report on it. We have when we vote, when the FinCom votes on it, we have a perspective and we have a point of view for town meeting to be able to give a recommendation to the town when they vote. But the sewer department and the water department are not reported in the finance committee report.
Okay. Well, Mr. Chairman, I have an issue with it. You know, as it was, we were approached with an email regarding a request to meet, and it was actually something completely different, and this was brought up. We had about a 12-minute conversation on this, and the reasoning behind the hire was we were under the assumption that somebody was retiring imminently. Well, from the conversation, it's gonna be a year and a half or 2 years before that position is gonna be open.
That's right.
I am not gonna hire somebody a year and a half to retirement. I'm tired of hearing about this, where we have difficulty filling the positions. The solution isn't, well, let's find somebody and pay somebody 2 years prior to that issue being brought up. I just have it doesn't sit well with me. I am not gonna sit there and add $63,700 because the only way that they have by themselves as admitted is to raise sewer fees.
Correct.
The only way that's gonna, everybody's sewer bill is gonna go up $50 a year.
Right.
I just thought that when we were Saturday, I didn't realize that the reasoning behind it, but
If the new hire wasn't in place, he would have a surplus of approximately $26,000. So his budget would have come in level funded. So by putting this person on, that's what really put it over.
But I don't know if, obviously, if it's not something that finance brings up, I would really like the opinion of my other two board members to
Right,
see
and I
if
think-
this is, basically what their opinion is. Me personally, as I've just stated, I'm not in favor of hiring somebody 2 years prior to the need to be hired.
Right.
It just seems ludicrous to me. But I think, since there was no discussion, I hate to see us go to the meeting Thursday and just carte blanche sign it without any discussion regarding a $63,000 item. I think we beat everybody to death Saturday. We tried to move things around to accommodate it, but I just don't think that this discussion cannot just be no discussion.
No, I agree
My
with you.
personal opinion.
Well, I agree with you, and it's a little different because it comes as an article. It doesn't come as part of a budget that needs to be voted on. It's voted on, but it's voted differently. So if you have a strong opinion and the board has a strong opinion, then you need to have that reflected on the floor at the time of the vote. That's when the decision is made. Now, I had two versions, and correct me if, I don't know if you did or not as a select board. I had two versions of his budget. He gave me one with the new hire and one without. So I had two sets of figures that we can look at as the FinCom. Did you get two sets of figures from?
I got one budget.
I have one.
So you didn't get two? I have it tonight. I'll give you a copy so you can have it. And really, it's a discussion for you to decide, but the problem with that is that you want to get your budget ready for Thursday to go to print, so you've got to be able to adjust that.
Well, I don't have a
That
problem,
article.
Barry, having the discussion the night of the meeting. I really don't. I don't
Oh,
want to hold up
okay.
the process, but I just didn't want it to be I just thought we simply overlooked it, and I just didn't want to have that happen.
Well, but right now, the article reads with the new hire.
Correct.
It's to create a position.
Create a position.
Right.
Funded through an increase in sewer fees.
Right.
For adding in the, okay, well, as long as
So
I'm
if-
fine with that. I
you know-
just thought it was, we just forgot about it, and I just didn't want to see that happen.
No.
But they are stating some mandates and staffing requirements with the state, so
Yep.
I haven't received anything in writing regarding it, but
That's
I'm
what I
taking
mean.
them, I'm taking them on their word that they're, they're being
Right.
honest with the fact that the state has put mandates on them as to how many people they have to have staffed at the size of the facility.
I haven't seen any kind of paperwork to
But
that.
that's what I would like to see. Is it a recommendation, or is it a mandate?
It's a mandate,
He has
a funded
very little,
mandate,
yeah.
but there's, they're gonna have to fund it somehow through user fees.
But that kind of came up in our meeting that we had with him, Dario. It just kind of came up in the conversation. I didn't actually see any paperwork or any kind of,
Oh,
official.
if there's not a lot of information prior to the meeting, it's gonna be a tough thing for residents to swallow, especially those who pay sewer fees.
Right.
You're gonna increase my fees to add a person, but
I
it was a
just wanted the
surprise to
discussion to
us,
come up.
when they came
That's all.
before us, it was a surprise to us that afternoon. We weren't expecting that. I
Right.
completely agree with Mark that we thought it was something completely different at the time, so it was like, wow, new person, what? So, yeah, more discussion as we had now, I guess. More than that.
I got one more thing.
Go ahead.
I have, when we did this whole thing, and, I applaud the chairman. He's a money man, and he looks for ways to fine tune things, and I admire that. And one of the things I think that Dario has taken top priority for is adjusting the wage scale and getting people comfortable, sitting there trying to resolve some of those, issues. And we seem to address, the wage classification was addressed this year. We've addressed Fire Chief Adams' concerns about his call people and this and that, and trying to make people that they're appreciated, and that, we can't pay a ton of money, but it's a little something to say a thank you. One of the departments that I've worked closely with over the past few years is the Parks Department. Now, it's a non-budget, it's not one of the big budgets. I think the people get paid $675 or $650. They've been at that rate, the same argument that we had with all the other departments for 5 or 6 years now. I would like to just, as a message of appreciation, because all the Parks Department, all these Halloween specials and movie nights, and all the things that do, that's parks. Cummings Pond, that is all run by these people who make nothing. I would like to give them a token, I don't mean it demeaningly, $100 apiece. I think the town can afford $300 a year. After the 5 years of having no compensation, for just as really just a thank you to the people that do this. It's
So that's
not
your,
talking $30,000, I'm talking $300.
so that's your recommendation.
So,
My personal, right, we have not discussed it with the board. It was something, like I said, when I discovered the sewer thing, when I was doing my homework on Sunday, I realized that, we've given everybody, we gave Board of Health people a stipend last year for all the work on Reed Street. Let's not go down that road, but I think the people that deserve it and put the time in and do a lot of the little things that is not political, is not part of this business, it's an extra that the town, I would like to increase $100 apiece, $300.
Well, okay.
all right, can I just, so is that in the park commissioner's salary, Mark? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, there was a line, it's
$4,500?
$650.
So it was, the originally request from them was 6,000, I believe, correct?
Right.
And we voted, both of us, to put it back to the 45. Is it how many people are in drawing? So each commissioner receives 1,500. They want to bump that up to 6,000, so each commissioner receives 2,000, correct? Is that correct?
Yes.
You know what, Dario, I must have looked at I didn't bring it with me.
So there's 3, they're elected.
Yes.
So keep in mind, an elected official, the recommendation for a salary increase for an elected official has to come from you guys or a resident in the community. Elected officials can't request a salary increase. It can be a recommendation from the finance, or any resident in the community can say, I think we need to get the Parks Commissioner a raise, but according to Mass General Law, elected shouldn't be requesting a salary increase, unless it's given to them by finance. So if it's 3, that means that each one would receive 2,000 instead of 1,500, so you're giving them a $500
No,
increase.
no, then I'm talking out of turn, because I didn't bring it because I thought it was a very simple discussion, that little breakdown, but I was looking at the line where I was under the impression that these people were getting like $650, and all I wanted to do was bump them 100 to 700. So obviously I have read.
$4,500 for the 3, it's currently $4,500, they requested 6, so it would be a $500 bump to the 3 commissioners, which is Ms. Ramsey, Mr. Monash.
Like, I've had no conversation with these people. I just looked at the line and I said, geez, for $650, I've been doing this for 5 years. I want to bump them $100. Obviously, I
So
looked at the
we'll-
wrong line, or, so if that's the
We'll
case,
review it
then
some more, I guess.
I will withdraw my,
Okay, okay.
I
Let you
apologize.
withdraw that one. All right, not a problem. Do you have anything else, sir?
No, that's, I apologize. I looked at the wrong line, obviously.
Okay, so we're gonna vote on the warrant Thursday, the annual. We're posted to vote, discussion, vote. So we could vote on individuals and then vote on the annual Thursday if we had to, which we're probably gonna have to do with the police. We may have to re-vote. If we're looking at highway, fire, there's a good chance, guys, that on Thursday, we may have to re-vote them if we're trying to take $500 or $600 from each expense line, for the trash. If that number needs to be tweaked a little bit, we have to re-vote those. But I don't, Barry, I just don't see where else we're gonna get it from because of the salary increases.
I'm
Some of
just
the
making
things-
you aware.
I know, but some of the areas that, like I pointed out, just the sidewalks and the technology, I'm glad that you guys went more into it. I was fine with 6 and 2. I'm willing to even look at our own budget or something else that you would like me to cut or trim, but we came in at 2.27 or something, I think it was, or whatever it was, over last. Obviously, fire, police, highway, saw some of the larger.
Fire and
increases.
police are the largest two that have affected this budget, plus the benefit package is another large increase. But we know that every year that's gonna
But another thing is
come.
we did get notification today with regards to insurance, we saw a decrease. So I think we're gonna revote ours and decrease that line. I don't have.
For what are we talking about?
For our-
Your retirement?
No, our Maya.
Maya.
So that's in your individual budget.
Correct.
Yeah.
So we very well could revote the selectmen's budget now that we know that that's a concrete number, which will be a decrease also. So there's just a few numbers we're gonna tweak. So it looks like we're gonna be voting on a few things on Thursday before we finalize the warrant. But we can vote on the special tonight. The only change to the special I wanted to mention is we received a call from council today. I don't know if Beck had a chance to share it with you guys or not. You did. With regards to the removal of one article on the special, which was the Article 3, to see if the town will vote to replace the principal assessor's clerk position C3 to assessor's clerk position C2, or take any action relative thereto. Council says we don't need that article. The other article that we have on there to fund the position is fine, but you don't need an article to change that. So we don't need to have that article on to change the position. They're changing the position, we just need to fund the position that presently has no money in it to get them through the rest of the remainder of the year. Then on next year's budget, they're funding that line. So there's no need for that article. So that was the only change to the special. All right, so again, the special has now 15 articles and a couple of transfers, sewer. So that article will be coming off, gentlemen. So we'll be down to 15. Any questions? So with that being said, I guess I'll entertain a motion to approve the special, warrant for the special town meeting on May 9th.
So moved with the removal of Article 3.
With the removal of Article 3.
I will second the motion as.
Motion's been made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So we haven't identified the funding sources. We've talked about it. We've discussed where we're possibly going to. Majority of the special is either free cash or there's a couple of transfers there. The annual is a little bit of a different animal, which we're gonna discuss this Thursday and then sign those things. But we wanna get the special off to the printers and get it going, so.
What time is the meeting Thursday?
Great.
How much is the total of all the special?
Don't quote me on that, okay?
It was 145,000.
145, 186. A rough figure. we've got about 168,000 free cash. Not all of that is free cash though. Some of that's transfers, in other areas, so, but that was the total dollar amount to that meeting. All right, so we're meeting at 3. We may have to vote a few, but I can assure those boards, if it's Adam and Tom, the only thing we're looking at is that rubbish, if there's so many that was still built up in there. There's no other major changes coming. I don't want to have to revote them, but if it's to save $8,000, truly it's there, I guess we can go after it and make an adjustment. But we want to make sure that Adam knows, Tom, Sharon at Senior Center. It's just that we're looking at it the next day or two. I can call you, Adam.
Yeah,
It's
from what I've been
300?
paying, it's roughly $420 a year, so it's nothing significant for fire anyways.
Okay.
Yours is really much lower than everybody
Yeah,
else's.
we have one bin, so it's really, we don't have dumpsters or anything, so it's pretty insignificant for the fire department, but.
I do have some good news for us. The House released their budget today. Did you happen to see it? So we saw a little bit increase in 70. Transportation had a huge increase for the school. That's good news. We had an increase in veterans benefits.
Oh, we did, I didn't see
Yeah.
that.
We had a slight increase. I think it was $8,000,
So
76.
it's
It went
like
up a little bit.
53, oh, it's 76,000?
76. So there were some increases, which is a good sign once it gets, past there. I don't see it, past trends haven't decreased it from there. So the school should be feeling pretty good about that amount there. And that, that transportation number and that additional money that we talked about Thursday night with Brent will be coming back, to the town based on how we word our warrant, those articles there, the pro rata share is returned. So, leaving Saturday and speaking to Mr. Souza and the superintendent, I think they were, happy with how we voted, with an understanding that, next year could be extremely difficult with E&D. And I think they're fully aware of that, but I did contact West Brookfield also and inform their board of how we voted Saturday, so they're aware of it. And I think we'll go in a little more united this year, and we'll see what happens. I'm a little concerned about the annual and the warrants, the articles on the annual and the raise and appropriate ones, the last few. So for those of you, I know Saturday, and I told them that we kind of changed the meeting warrant a little bit this year. Mark and Jim are already aware of this. We're putting pretty much the standard bullet items on our town, and repetitive ones every year at the beginning. And the way I look at the warrant now is the meat of the warrant is at the end. Your money spent, the money you're spending right now is towards the end. So, it's advantageous to all to stay to the end because your vote really does count. If there's something that's going towards the tax rate, that's the vote. I feel it's much more important to get rid of all the standard language in the beginning, and then we look at the last third of the last third of the meeting and say, okay, this is where we're really spending money and how we can impact the tax rate, if so be it. So, a little bit of a change, but it's hopefully make it easier for us down the road when we repopulate the warrants every year moving forward. So, we do have a change in the wage classification, and we do have a huge personal bylaw change, large. We've added FMLA policy, a drug policy. There's a lot being added. It's been a lot of hours of work on that, Beck, with town council, you, me, our town accountant. Everybody's chimed in on this one. So the personal bylaw, once we get it in place, we're gonna get it up on the website with all the red strike-throughs and that, so people can see what they're voting on prior to the meeting in color. Because at the meeting, it's gonna be just in black and white, and you can't afford all that coloring, but we're gonna try to get it up on the website so everybody can see it. So, but there's huge personal bylaw changes, and then hopefully within the next year or so, it's the bylaw. I've had a lot of residents concerned about addressing the bylaw and making a lot of additions to the town bylaws. So, that's our job, we're charged with that, so. So that's it for budgets, meetings. I'm sorry, Mr. Gagnon, do you have anything to add, to discuss? No, Mr. Richard, anything else to add?
Nada.
We voted on the special.
You signed it?
Where is it?
I gave it to you.
Did I fold it?
I leave it with you.
Sorry, it's this copy. I apologize. Black okay, Beth?
Yes.
I will sign. Mr. Gagnon. Thank you, sir. So what we have left, all right, special town meeting warrant, budgets, slightly special. We mentioned Article 3, comments and concerns.
We're waiting for.
You've been in Texas for how long?
I know.
The first thing you do is you come back with a comment or a concern, great.
Well,
Yes.
it's just a follow-up, actually. They sent a letter out to the Board of Selectmen asking permission to have an open house at the town hall.
On the 6th?
on May 7th.
May 7th.
1 o'clock to 3 o'clock. And we haven't really heard a response. I know that you were looking for details, so we did put together an agenda as well as an invitate who we were inviting and a waiver that we were going to use for that.
Did you guys talk to the chief already?
I have a letter that corresponding with the, saying that it's really up to the Board of Selectmen.
Oh, it is, but
And he
how
more.
does he feel about it? I mean.
Well, I think his only concern was the door. I think we've spoken about that in the past. And that is if there's an arresting person in the building, for one thing. And if there is, perhaps, it's only for 2 hours, maybe he could have a police officer stand at that door, just so that we will be able to have people come in, if he felt at all,
So you want to use the front, which door are you talking about?
the front door, going into the town.
On Milton Fountain Way?
Right.
The main entrance there?
Correct,
The booking room door is to the right.
correct.
So how does that interfere with you?
Well, it's just, they always said that that wasn't a secure door, you know,
The
going.
flimsy door.
The flimsy door, you know, they said that they didn't want.
There's plastic and a
Right.
flimsy door and.
But I mean, the only issue is if there was someone that they had arrested and they wanted to make sure that that wasn't an issue, having people,
All right,
citizens
we
going
can
in.
get around that.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
And it's only 2 hours, so, you know.
What's the time, Kathy?
It's May 7th from 1 to 3 p.m. And I'll leave you this, the material here that we had put together.
I'm going to talk to Chief Dormer and Kathy. I can
And you
ask
can
him about
show this to him too as well. Okay.
Back
I
around
have
what
the
budget
email
we're
from the
talking about.
chief.
Yeah, I explained to him, yeah, I have this, it is a correspondence that we've had with the chief about the town hall, and I'll leave that with you too.
Okay.
Not about this particular event, but just about using the building in general.
All right, so it's 2 hours on the 7th.
Yep.
Time
Yep.
again?
And we need, like, to know
1:30.
soon, like 2 days or.
Thursday.
Do
If
you
we
guys want to vote on it tonight, to allow them the use of the building?
I don't have an issue with it, Mr. Chairman.
I mean, we'll reach out to Bruce, I don't have an issue with it either, do you, Jim?
I don't see a need, but I don't have an issue.
Okay, do we want to make a motion to allow the Friends of the Town Hall to have an open house at the building on May 7th?
Yep,
1 to 3,
yes.
correct? For an open house, I guess. is
Yes,
the
we're gonna have
best
tours, we
Tour of an open
outlined
house
our
Of the
agenda.
town hall, not inside the police station.
No.
Not going that direction.
No, 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 no,
Basement.
no. Up the stairway.
Up the stairway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Limited access to those areas there. All right.
I will make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to allow May 7th, 1 to 3 as open house, as long as all the issues have been settled out between the chief.
Motion's been made, I'll second it. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Could we get that in writing?
That's in the minutes.
In the minutes.
It's on tape,
You're on tape.
it's fine.
You're on tape. Got a couple people taping me here, so.
Yeah.
Real quickly, while I have
Thank you
two of
very
you
much.
here, we did vote on the article for the windows.
Yes.
Saturday. So we'll see how it goes. It's
Right.
only annual. You know, get out there and talk to your friends and tell them.
Yep.
You know, it is on. So.
Yeah, and it also, I mean, we're gonna promote the fact that it's going to decrease improve the ventilation of the building and the mold, and, you know, that will definitely help.
And
They could
the police
open the
station,
window.
help the police station, or the police.
Yeah,
Moving the police would help the police station the best way.
well, no, we're talking different figures, okay, for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
Anybody else with comments, concerns? Yes, Mr.
Yeah, I have a question. In 2014, you were a candidate for Board of Selectmen. So the question I have is, were you aware that Mr. Robert Downing was engaging in criminal behavior in the theft of signs off private property?
No, and Mr. Downey can't speak on behalf of that because he isn't here, so we can't really address that. If there is a concern with Mr. Downey, you'd have to have him present, sir.
Oh, okay, but I'm asking you the
But I
question
wasn't aware of any of
because...
that, no.
You weren't aware of that?
I can't answer to that.
Okay. Well, it turns out Mr. Corrigal actually sued Mr. Downing, and you allowed Mr. Downing and Ken Lacy to have town council representation in court, and Mr. Corrigal sued them and sued them. And I actually have a copy of the audio transcript, and the Courtney Mayo, who you know is the counsel for Maya, made some comments that incriminated the town employees for the theft of basically Mr. Corville's signs, that they were stolen off private property.
So are you
So-
gonna give me that tape, or is that so I can hear it, listen to it, or?
No, this is what I purchased, so if you
Okay.
want one, you can go purchase yourself. But Ms. Mayo made a comment about you, saying that you were aware that Mr. Downing had ordered Ken Lacy to steal the signs of Brian Colville off private property.
No. Once again, Mr. Downey's not here to respond to that accusation.
But
I'm not aware.
According Mayo
I'm
works
not-
for you, the chairman of the Board of Selectmen. She made that statement on the tape that you were aware that signs are being stolen.
No. You see, the one word that you have a problem with there, Mr. Burrell, is the word
Well, I don't have a problem with any words. It's the problem is you don't know what your own attorney says in court.
I don't need
Because
to.
I have
She-
the,
Mr. Burrell,
Yes.
let me speak. She represents the town, she goes to court on behalf of the town representing Mr. Downey, Mr. Lacy, whomever,
Right.
and numerous other individuals who've
Yeah.
had to go to court for, or with you.
right.
But the word stolen was never a word used, so we need to make sure you've
Well,
used
the
it
correct
several
words
times.
was larceny under 250, and that's what Mr. Downing
Let
should
me
be
ask you
charged.
something before I close this matter. You're gonna tell me that Mr. Corville's signs cost more than $250? Seriously?
It doesn't make a difference.
It makes a difference.
It does
They're
make a
worth
difference because
$2.50.
the chairman of the Board of Selectmen
So anyways,
ordered these
I will,
signs to be stolen, and it's right there in the audio recording, so maybe you should go purchase a copy of it so you know what you're talking about.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So nice to see you. It's been a while. Hey,
Yeah, so
with
nice to
that-
see you too.
With that being said, I'll entertain a motion to,
Can I-
well, actually, our next
Mr.
scheduled
Chairman,
meeting is.
can I just, two quick comments, real quick?
I'm in a concern, sir, go ahead.
They're not, nothing, so I just wanted to let I'm gonna forward a copy to Becky as well, but, we're working with the Red Cross, with a program to be able to allow residents that have pre-1975 built homes to receive, free smoke alarms, and update their current, systems in the house. Have a target date of June 10th to do the installations on those between the fire department and Red Cross. So I'm gonna be providing some flyers to the senior center, the post offices. I haven't got them yet, but as soon as I get them from the Red Cross with the announcement date and the requirements for the program itself. It only applies to houses built prior to 1975 and where the building code come in. So we're looking at the new 10 years sealed lithium battery. So anyone that qualifies for that program or would like to take part in it, you know, they can come down to the fire station. I will have the information up on the blue screen pretty soon and at the local hotspots in town.
You answered all my questions. I was gonna say blue screen,
Yeah.
1975, contact you.
Yep, so I just wanted to make the announcement, I'm working on that, and the only other second thing is, I didn't know about Memorial Day, I'm assuming it's gonna be the 28th Sunday. Okay, the only issue with that is I just had a permit come across the desk for fireworks on the same day.
Or what?
Fireworks on the same day from the Parks Department, it just
Absolutely
jogged,
not.
it jogged,
No.
it jogged my, so.
No.
If I have a vote on that,
So
as
it
a chair of
just,
the
Keep in mind,
Veterans
when
Council,
so when
absolutely.
Mr. Richard brought up the Parks Department, it jogged my memory. I'm only saying this because I had no information on it. It's scheduled. I've already had to send in the permit by state law to sign off on the permit. My issue is that if that happens, it's gonna pull people from the
It's not
fire
gonna happen, I
department
can
away
tell
from the Memorial Day parade.
It's not gonna happen, I can tell you why, because that article that was put forward for the $10,000 for fireworks was designated for a specific day.
Okay,
They can't expend that money on Memorial Day.
okay, so I
And
guess,
town council's aware
I
of
just
this.
didn't know where that stood, if you were aware of that, because I wasn't aware of it. It's scheduled for
So
the
he's
28th,
scheduling
with the rain
something,
date
he's
is the
not gonna have any way
29th.
of paying for it. Because
Okay.
that money has to be expended with how the article was written, it wasn't for Memorial Day.
All right, so I guess could I ask, because it's already had to be submitted by law, I had to only have a couple days to act on it, to send it to the state fire marshal's office for pre-approval. Could you just reach out to the Parks Department and figure out what happened there? Because I wasn't aware of it, and again, if something like that is gonna happen on Memorial Day, it's only, I mean, it's a great thing for the town, but it's unfortunate because it's gonna pull my people away from other designated events for the day, so.
I can't think of a more inappropriate time to have fireworks than on Memorial Day.
Like, I just didn't know if the board was aware, because I just got the permit, and it kind of caught me off
That
guard.
came from the
That's coming from the
Veterans,
Veterans
that's coming
Council.
from me.
Okay.
As chair of the Veterans
We
Council.
will reach out to the parks tomorrow,
Okay.
Adam, thanks for bringing it to us, and let them know that they really need to read that article back, because they asked Madeline, they can't expend that money for that, based on how the article was written. So our next meeting is April 25th, 2017, we're off next Tuesday because it's candidates night, 6 to 8 PM down at the senior center, meet and greet type of thing. We will be meeting this Thursday at 3 o'clock, but our next televised is April 25th. at 7 PM. So with that being said, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I will second.
Motion made, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you.